What's up, and welcome to Nightcaller's Bigfoot Radio. You are here with your hostess, Lauren Smith, and tonight we have Jeremiah Byron of Bigfoot Society podcast on. He is a podcast host and cryptid researcher, and we're going to hear all about the cryptid from his region, which he just did a presentation on at the local festival. But before we get into that, I ask that you show some love for the Nightcallers crew by hitting the thumbs up on whatever platform you're listening to Nightcallers on. Show some love, subscribe so that you don't miss anything new, follow, all of that fun stuff. Don't forget to go to nightcallersproductions.com where you can see everything that I'm working on and check out my merch. Support me. I would like to say that I just updated my merchandise and now have included Hunter's Orange or Safety Orange in my merchandise. So now you can rep Nightcallers and be safe in the woods at the same time. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get to our guest because I am eager to have him on. Here's Jeremiah. How are you doing tonight?
Lauren, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, of course. It's always a pleasure to have you on. You're a font of information.
Let's
a font. Is it font or fount? Font?
It's all good.
Oh my gosh. So Jeremiah, I met Jeremiah. He reached out to me a couple years ago and asked me to be on his show as a guest. He was my very first interview that I ever did on somebody else's show as a guest. And so I was so nervous. If you go back and watch. And you didn't know that you were my very first.
It's surprising.
So if you go back and watch carefully, you can see that the bottom of my shirt right here is very moist looking. I was so freaking nervous, but I had a really great time. Jeremiah, he's a great interviewer. He brought me kind of out of my shell a little bit for that interview. And we've been friends ever since. We trade, names and all of that. And Jeremiah has some amazing guests on, you guys. So definitely check out Bigfoot Society podcast.com. And you can find all of his works and his merch as well. He has really great merch. You can see here in a minute, I'm going to flash some pictures, and I actually have some of his merch, and it's amazing. Okay.
Awesome.
I'm hoping that everyone can hear you. We were having a little bit of audio issues at the beginning where Jeremiah was kind of glitching every third word. So in the chat, if you guys could kind of let me know if you can hear him when he starts talking, that would help a lot. Tate?
Yeah, Tate, Mr. for being here, Tate. So can you let me know if very important, Tate? Thank you.
I feel like I should put that on the screen, but
yeah. It's
I won't. It's fine.
Show.
Oh my God.
Yes.
That's so Tate, in a nutshell, this is how we show our love to each other in the cryptid community. Okay, so they said that you are cutting out, so I am not sure. What do we do here, JB? You're the podcast professional.
I'm trying to think real quick.
We checked all of your chords.
Yep.
Do you want to try to click that link and maybe do it from your phone? Would you be okay with that, or?
I can, if you're okay with that, yeah, I can try that. It's that Iowa internet, yeah.
It is.
So I'll be right back.
Okay, all right, sounds good. I'm going to minimize you and keep the masses calm.
I'll be right back.
Okay, all right, bye. Oh, I love this guy. He uses it on his podcast. I don't think he uses it live. I'm not sure. Chris Ramsey, he is from Iowa. And so we're going to hear all about not only the Bigfoot researchers that he has interviewed, his first Bigfoot outing, and then also he is a subject matter expert on the Van Meter Visitor, which is a cryptid in Iowa. And so we're going to hear all about that and the presentation that he gave over that. So, yeah, maybe something running in the background. I don't know. We'll see. I thought it was mine. I checked all my connections, ran to ran to plug in straight to my modem with my Ethernet cable. I mean, I ran all over the place. So yeah. Hi, Claude. How are you doing today? It is good to see you online live. Tate, thank you. I too am excited to hear about his first Bigfoot outing. I mean, we talked about it, but not live. So, I hope everybody's having a great week. Temperatures have plummeted everywhere, so I hope you guys are enjoying the weather. It's Bigfoot season. It's very exciting. I'm excited. I'm getting out into the natures as often as I can. Pretty much every other weekend, I'm out in the natures looking for the Bigfoots. And this past weekend, I had some success. I was very excited about that. So I will come on another night and tell you all about that, because I don't want to take away from JB's. I don't want to steal his thunder. So okay. Hi, Kevin. Thank you for being here tonight. So next weekend is the Falk Monster Halloween Festival in Falk, Arkansas at Alex Smith Park. So if you guys can make it, please do. I am not running the event this year. Ann Osborne Walls and Keith Crabtree, so Squatch Dogs and Keith Crabtree, are running the event. They have vendors. They have food. I think a food vendor. You can just go set up a table. You don't have to pay anything. It's free vending. And they have free camping, of course. There's the costume contest, trick-or-treating for the kids, all of that. So you guys check it out if you're close enough. I'll be there. Like I said, I'm not hosting it this year, so I get to just go enjoy it with my kids and go see everybody. I'm not going to be running around like crazy this year. I'll actually get to go partake. So you guys, if you're in the area, come see me. I'd love to meet a lot of you in person. Tate, are you talking to me? I don't drink anymore. So actually yesterday was 9 months of me not drinking anymore. So sorry, but you drink a PBR for me. Feel free. Have 5. Yes, so Keith Crabtree will be there. You guys can come meet the legend of Boggy Creek himself. And there's a bunch of amazing people that will be there. Some of them have amazing stories. The locals there have fantastic stories. Seriously, they're wonderful. Of just growing up in that area, experiences that they've had. You get to kind of go see the area. You get to go visit the Monster Mart, 237 Grocery. They have really good food. Monster Mart has amazing pizza. They use like double cheese. It's my favorite part of Falk, but that's just me. I'm a foodie. And then just the area is absolutely gorgeous. And so you guys should definitely go check it out. Thank you guys for the congrats. Okay. I think JB's not coming back. So I'm going to message him and see where he is. He left me. I guess I could talk a little bit about this past weekend since, we're kind of waiting. So I went to the Ouachita National Forest this past weekend with a few fellow friends and researchers, and we camped out near Tallahena. And we had some calls on Friday night, some whoops, I would guess. I'm a little bit skeptical of that area because of how prevalent it is with Bigfoot researchers, but these were not owl, not, just they were odd. We'll call them interesting. And we had Eyeshine. One of the people I was with, he just turned his camera to the woods. He has a little digital camera. He turned his camera to the woods and flashed it On the third flash, we saw two eyes looking at us, and then on the fourth flash, there was nothing. It was pretty interesting. I also may have gotten a handprint on my vehicle, as well as fur dusting in the dirt on my vehicle underneath of it. And then I had something bipedal walk by my camper at about 2 or 3 in the morning. And I thought it was the other person that was sleeping in the other vehicle, but he informed me that he does not get out of his vehicle at night, much less walk around in the dark with no headlamps. So, and then we also had whoops again that night. So we had a lot of weird stuff this weekend. It was a very active weekend. I was here for it. Okay. Now that I've gotten that out, the eye shine was white, like bright white. Okay. Hold on just a moment. I'm going to get JB on here. JB.
How's it going?
Your lips. Oh, okay. There we go. I was like, your lips are moving. There's no noise.
Drew, I have headphones in.
Okay.
I love it.
It's like a badly dubbed Chinese movie right now. I don't know what is happening. I'm wondering if it's on my end or I keep grabbing my mouse.
I put in like I'm on LTE cellular on, so it's a totally different like connection for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think you're sounding better now, so you should be good. You should be good. Let's just go ahead and try it, and then we'll he is a Chinese movie right now. Okay, so JB, I was bragging about your first Bigfoot outing that you went on.
Yeah, it was really cool. I ended up with Tate Hieronymus, and we went to Iowa. Cool experience definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, caught some stuff on to actually hear the audio. You can his YouTube channel. He's got a weird weekend. I learned a ton. Be in a better mindset that are going, but hot weekend is 110 degrees. On the Saturday we went out, anything in. So we went out. We're just kind of, but the next day, that Sunday, is to really have in the campsite, which is pretty wild.
Yeah.
To get off my headphones.
Okay, yeah, try that. I do not know. I don't understand what's happening right now. You have a very nice basement.
Oh my goodness, this is so good. Like, this is...
Do you want me to minimize you and let you get that taken care of? Okay, I'm going to minimize him right now. In all fairness, he watched me take out my teeth whitening strips earlier before we came on live, so it's the night for it, you guys. It's just the night for it. Okay. Okay, I'm going to have my mama pray over the show, because when she does that, the show starts working. And if I forget to have her do that, I have these issues. So, do not minimize men. Oh my god. How about you men don't be so easily minimizable? Just throwing that out there. Anyways, so I may have had a possible handprint on my car, and I'm pretty excited about that. I thought it was my boyfriend's handprint because he's 6'7" and his hands are squatch-like. So I had him come over there and I asked him if he had leaned against my car and he said no. So I had him put his hand up there and it was bigger than his hand. Also different, it wasn't shaped the same. Like I had him do a test handprint on the window and his hand, he put it against there and there was, you know, all this space between his fingers. But in the handprint on there, it was like if it didn't have a thumb. So it was like this. And then there was a little dot right here where the thumb would be, but it was down here. So it was like that, if something would have put its hand on there like that. And then there was also the I didn't see it till later, but like below that handprint on the fender there was, looked like something had dusted fur against it. It's pretty interesting. Okay, let me try now. Hold on. Why are you glitched? Why? What? Oh my goodness. Alright, I'm gonna remove him real quick. Okay. My mama has prayed over the show. By God. Oh, Lord. JB, what did you do? I can't hear you at all, and you're squishy. This is gonna be one of those nights, I feel like. There's gonna be a lot of editing of this episode. For sure. JB, I've got no audio coming from you at all. On the bottom where it says mute, disable camera, are you muted? No? Yes? Mouth the word slowly so I can read your lips. He's getting so frustrated. I'm so sorry, JB. I'm sorry. I don't know what you're saying, but you're gesturing angrily with... Maybe I'll send you a different link. Maybe that'll work. Let's try that. Yeah? Okay. Okay, guys, I'm so sorry. Technology, and it always seems to happen to me. Thank you, Chris. Yes, this is the first kind of handprint I've ever had, and something I forgot to mention. And I actually have pictures of all of this that I'll be sharing eventually, but the handprint, when I shined my headlamp over it and took the picture, it had dermal ridging in it. Like, you could see the oil that it left behind, and you could see all the ridging. So, and it was about the same... The oil that was left was about the same consistency as a human handprint, because it was about the same consistency as my boyfriend's. Okay, let's try this. Hi. You can tell when JB's getting flustered because his hair starts growing in different directions. You know what really sucks is I don't know anything about the Van Meter Visitor, and I've been looking forward to this show for a month because I have purposefully not looked up anything about the Van Meter Visitor because I was going to pump JB's brain for information. So, is your presentation online somewhere that we could watch it? Okay, he hung up. Thank you for being patient, Chris and family, Night Callers family. So the handprint had dermal ridging, which was really cool. The fur below it, it looked like someone took like a rug, maybe, and like a fuzzy rug, and like, you know, got it on the side of my car in the dirt, because it's a very dusty, dry, dirty road. Okay. He said unmute. Hi.
Hey, can you hear me this time? No,
I can hear you. I can hear you.
Oh, you can? Oh,
yes.
Really? Is it doing
Yes.
the skipping thing anymore?
Kind of. Let me mute myself and see if that helps.
Oh my goodness. Check, check, check. Can you hear? Am I skipping a lot? Skipping all this word stuff?
Less. So let's try it. Okay. Less.
Awesome. Let's
Okay.
do it.
Okay. So I think it might be It might be my audio glitching out your audio on that end, because I've had that issue before. So
Interesting. Yeah.
yeah. So when I'm not talking, I'm going to mute out. Okay?
Okay.
All right. So
Sure.
give me just a second. I'm going to hook my little wireless mouse up so I can mute out easier without bumping the... Okay. We're professionals. You guys, y'all
This
better
is
be
so
taking notes.
professional. This
We
is
are
really
pros.
good. So
Please support Bigfoot Society podcast and Night Callers, because we're pros. We're impressive. Okay, tell me about your very first Bigfoot expedition. Mind you, this is after a couple years of listening and viewing all of my expeditions, and you wanted to go so bad. Tell us about that.
So it was very interesting. I did learn a lot. My main goal for going was figure out how to interview people that I have on better, to empathize better with them, realize what they're going to look for Bigfoot, and I feel like I was successful in that 100%. That's you know, you're going out Bigfooting, and at the you're really going out camping. So there's a lot of sitting around. There's a lot you have to be going out with someone who knows how to take. And I learned a ton, and I hadn't been hiking since I was in high school, but definitely go Bigfooting knows what they're up to. Don't just go by yourself and think you're going to have a good time. You need someone to show you the ropes, right? So Tate was awesome. He showed, walked me through like all the gear he has, and that guy has the gear. First day, as I was saying before, I'll start from the beginning. So we went to a location, and we went there Saturday afternoon, and we were just hanging out, right? Had some people over, had a good time. Then, so I'm sitting around the campfire. Tate's like, I'm going to take a nap, which at first I was like, that nap, but whatever, you do you. And then I realized later it's because, hey, you need to get the rest in. I didn't get that. Okay, so that was the first lesson. Sitting around the campfire, and it was weird. We're out in the middle of nowhere, but so I'm actually on my iPhone, like cruising through Instagram, just kind of like waiting for Tate to wake up and be like, and all of a sudden, like it was like, how you hear of your hearing, kind of like like it was weird, like in the wood, left ear, what I thought at the time was a not kind of sounded like it. That one we chalked up to recording of it. I chalked it up to maybe a Bigfoot on the brain. There was some wind going on. It could have been something knocking against it. Like, maybe not so much. That Saturday night, we happened from what I remember, but the next day, the temperature in mind, it was 110 degrees heat index. So everything was like, this is just like, no one wants to do anything, right? The next, I want to say like 30, 40 degrees, stuff started moving around. So me and Tim moving around camp, we're doing all this stuff.
I was muted. JB, you've completely glitched on me. Hold on. I think he lost signal. He's even like frozen on my thing. I'll have to wait and see if he unfreezes and bring him back. Yeah, he's very frozen. Can you guys hear me okay? Is it like the whole connection or just JB's connection? Is there like an ice storm in Iowa right now? What is going on? Is there an ice storm where you are? You live up there in the north.
There's totally an ice storm. Okay. Where did I cut off?
Around 30, 40 degrees, things started moving.
Oh, wow. Okay. So I will apologize to chat because I live in very rural Iowa and connection-wise sometimes. Okay, so 30, 40 degrees day and stuff starts moving around, right? Because like this is a lot better than 110 heat index, mean state, messing around, doing stuff around camp, and then hot diggity dang. So oh my goodness. Oh boy, I am just totally like I don't know what to do. Hey buddy, are you going to bed? High fives. See ya. No, don't go over there. Okay. Yeah. This is awesome.
You guys forgot to tell me I was muted. I was literally talking to myself. Hold on. Okay. I got an idea. Okay. Here's the plan. Tate. Can't be messaging me behind the scenes. Bigger than yours. So, does that help? Does that answer your question there, bud? Thanks. Somebody asked a very inappropriate or scientifically motivated question, and I answered. Okay. How about we do a Zoom interview and we air it live and have a Q&A with the chat. Okay. JB, I just sent you a message. Check the message.
Okay.
Okay, check the message. I have you on, but check the message.
Air it live and have a Q&A with this. Yeah, let's do it. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Right.
So Jeremiah doesn't do live videos, you guys. His podcast is pre-recorded. So that's why he doesn't run into this issue on his show. Because he's pre-recorded most of the time. The only lives that he used to do were like on Clubhouse. So
we'll talk about that later. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So
okay.
All right. So we're I can hang out, you guys, and do some live Q&A, or JB can do that, and but if you guys want, we will just end the show, and JB and I are going to have our actual interview on Zoom. We'll air it live coming up, and then we're going to have the live chat so that you can Q&A JB and not, so you guys can get that font of information fount. I know he sounds good now, but wait till he starts talking. Go.
I'm talking right. Okay. Does it sound any different? Is it still?
It sounds good.
Really?
Yeah.
This is crazy town USA. Like seriously.
Hot diggity dang. Okay.
Tate, do I sound good?
You do.
Tate, of course, is the final say on everything. So
yeah, he is.
Yeah.
I can actually hear you right now. Literally,
okay.
Sounds great.
Oh my goodness. I'm a mess right now. Okay, so
like we're so professional. Okay.
This will go down in history.
What's so funny is I
The
just
guy
got
in the
through.
chat, I'm late. Is this a Bigfoot story? No, this is a story of technology going terribly wrong.
I
we're good.
literally
We're good
just
now,
got
I think.
done like looking at a bunch of bad reviews I used to have on Night Colors. So when I first switched to video interviewing, I had a different setup and I had it feeding through like 3 different programs to go live, and my audio was terrible.
Yeah.
And so I had horrible reviews on Night Callers. And I remember looking at, this was literally like yesterday, I looked at my comments and I was like, oh, thank God I don't have that issue anymore. And then the universe was like, haha. Okay.
Wink.
Wink. Okay.
All
So
right.
you went on a Bigfoot expedition, your very first one, and you went on this expedition. I feel like we're drunk
Yeah.
at a party trying to finish a story. So
Pretty much.
you went on this expedition to get experience, and that way you could apply it to interviewing Bigfoot researchers, kind of know
Exactly.
what they're doing so that
Exactly.
you could ask better. Okay.
Yep.
So while you were out there, Tater Tot, Hieronymus, no relation to
Mhm.
Bob, went and took a nap in the tent. You later found out why that is a good idea, but you did not know at the time, and while you were sitting there, you were hearing knocking.
I heard one. It was one single knock, and
One
then
knock.
I was like, we discussed it later, and we were like, that was probably because it was super windy. There was almost a tornado that night. It was a crazy night. It was wild. Like, there's a part in the in Tate's doc, which you really got to watch his search for Sabe, the Iowa episode.
Mm-hmm.
It's legit. But he shows the weather app on the screen, and like, yeah, we literally almost got just taken out by a tornado, but thankfully last minute we were good. So yeah, next day, 30 to 40 degrees, what's the word? 30 to 40 degrees,
Change? Like a
change.
A temperature difference.
I'm trying to get my mind back in order right now.
You are getting it back. So there was a massive change and lots of activity started happening.
Yes, exactly. So we went through, it was a great Sunday. We did some cooking around the fire. Tate made some killer burgers. It was awesome.
You ate Tate's cooking?
Yeah, it was legit. Like, you'd be surprised. I was surprised. He's a great chef. Yeah, he's good. I made some freeze-dried meals so I could get the full experience, like, because it's been, I used to go hiking with my dad when I was in high school on the Appalachian Trail in New England, but that's been about 20 years since I've done any of that stuff. So I had to get back into it. So fast forward to later that night, we're sitting around the campfire. It's starting to get dusk, right? Tate's like, hey, why don't I start doing some knocks? And I was like, oh, that's cool. So he starts doing some knocks, and immediately after, we start the first thing we hear a rather large tree get pushed over about 50 to 60 yards in front of the campsite in the woods. It was so loud that I was like, Tate, was that fireworks? And Tate's like, think about where we are. We're so far out in the woods, away from anyone. And also, if someone's lighting off fireworks in Iowa, they're not just lighting off one. And I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. It was more a huge tree falling over in just the sound of it, right?
Yeah.
So there's that. Then a little bit later, of course, the first lesson of that day we learned is you have audio recorder going all the time. So we did not get that on audio, of course, because that's what always happens, right?
You have to learn those lessons.
Immediately after that, I was so frustrated because I didn't have my audio recorder going that I turned it on for the rest of the night. And then Tate, I believe, did some more knocks, and I got a knock on the right side of the campsite in the woods. We got that on audio. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then the rest of the night, we didn't even leave the campsite because it was evident that stuff was going on around our campsite.
Gotcha.
It was wild. And before we turned in for the night, I took my sound recorder, and on Tate's recommendation, I put it about 30 yards on the outside of where the tent in the truck was on a picnic table, right? So we put it out there, and then I got about 7 hours of audio. The other thing I learned is that it's very hard to work through audio. That took me 2 to 3 weeks to get through everything. And I was talking to people like, Chris Spencer, who was walking me through, like, okay, here's how you look at, spectrographs and like all this stuff. And here's what you're looking for. Yeah. And I was like constantly sending sounds back to, people like Jonathan Easley and Ron Man Reed and Tate and Chris, and like, hey, what's this? Is this a monkey? No, that's an owl. Because there's some owls that sound real crazy, right? And I didn't know that. But there was some weird stuff that we got on that audio. We got more knocks for sure. The weirdest thing we got was at 3:45 a.m. We got the sound of a tent zipper being unzipped. That freaked me out.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to explain that. And the thing is, from what I remember, I don't remember getting out of my tent that early. Like, I didn't wake up and go use the facilities or anything, right? So I couldn't explain what that meant. And I was like, Tate, you can have this audio, you can put it in your doc, but I can't explain what happened, because this is something that I've never heard happening before, right? Where it's like, Bigfoot's going to use his like squatchy hands and unzip a zipper, right?
Right.
Until, check this out, Lauren. So I started this thing this last week where I take live, I do a live call-in show on YouTube. And
which I warned you about, but you went ahead anyway.
It's been great so far. It has been really good so far. I know eventually there's going to be this guy who's like, hey, cool guy, what's going on? And I have to be like, mute. But it's whatever. It's like Clubhouse. So anyways, what I found out was I had Randy Harrington from Into the 400 call in. He's a Ozark, Missouri squatcher, right?
Right.
And he was telling me random stories, these great stories about how, Bigfoot would go into their campsite and mess around with them and all this stuff, right? He tells this story about how they got audio of one coming into their campsite and messing with the stuff on the table. And there was a duffel bag on the table, and it unzips the duffel bag. Stop it. And I was like, I have this on camera where just like all of a sudden my face just like drops and I'm like, oh, yeah, that's it. Like we had something crazy go down that night. Absolutely terrifying. It is terrifying.
It's terrifying that there's something that can do that. That's like, as I've had the same thing. I've had something, I thought it was a raccoon. I have a screened in portion of my tent on the front, but I keep the flaps open in my table in there with snacks on it and stuff, because we don't really have bears, so we just have raccoons. And something was messing with it. I could hear it walk in there and start messing with the Cheez-It box, and I heard the Cheez-It box fall over. Oh, wow. Because I'm such a foodie that I know exactly how a Cheez-It box sounds when it falls over. I got it. And I had both kids in there with me, and I just reached up towards the front, and I was like, hey, go on. Get. Go on now. Go on. Thinking it was a raccoon, right? I hear a footstep and it freezes. And then I don't hear anything. I don't hear it run off. I don't hear it move the box. I don't hear leaves. I don't hear anything. I wake up the next morning, the Cheez-It box is standing up straight.
That's wild. I mean, shout out to Cheez-It. It should be your sponsor, really.
I mean, they really should. Honestly, I take them every camping trip. So, but just saying, like, whatever it was, I heard that Cheez-It box, and it was wild. Standing up straight. So whatever.
That is so wild.
But I've heard reports of coolers opening and closing, latched coolers opening and closing in the middle of camp. Tubs, like Rubbermaid tubs, the lids opening and closing. I've also heard of raccoons doing that kind of thing, but I've never heard of a raccoon opening a zipper. So.
Yeah, me neither. It's weird, right?
Yeah.
And so I was I keeping tabs with some people throughout the weekend, and Shannon was like, "You should play a baby crying audio over a speaker," and I was like, "There's no way."
Yeah.
And half of me regrets not doing that, but the other half is super like, who knows what we would have experienced if that had been played? Because every time I've heard that being played, it goes nuts. Like, it sets them off. So I don't know what would have happened, to be honest.
Yeah.
I kind of want to know, but
that's nerve-wracking. But you had a good first experience out with the Bigfoot researchers.
That's what Tate kept saying. He was like, you need to realize that this is not normal, and this doesn't happen all the time, and that this is super like special that we're getting all this stuff. And I was kind of like, oh, this is cool, whatever. And he was like, dude, this is actually really special. Like, a lot of people go out and they don't experience any of this stuff. So I was like, this is awesome.
Think of it this way. Literally, you go into the woods 10 times.
Yeah.
Maybe 2 times you'll have some kind of activity. Not all of that activity at once. One of those things that happen to you will happen on a camp out. 1 out of 10 times. So
that's wild.
You have to be consistent in Bigfoot research, but you had beginner's luck, which is
big time. You really did. Yeah.
I've heard raccoons cut open tents, like they claw it and cut it open, and and it sounds like a zipper. Yikes. But I've never. Doug Miller in the chat says that he has seen raccoons unzip small duffel bags, looking for food, but only if it's on the ground, not, not a tent.
Thanks, Doug.
Yeah, so that's interesting. But yeah, you had a really good first experience. I'm really glad that you went. I'm glad that you got to go.
Can I add something else as well?
Yeah, go for it. Absolutely.
Tate reminded me. Tate reminded me in the chat about this. So the other cool thing is that we're not the only ones that have actually had stuff happen in this area. There are other researchers that have had action in this area that we were at, and they've even gotten vocalizations over the years. So like, this is definitely an area that we are keeping tabs on, and hopefully be able to look into again in the future. So
Tate in the chat, he said hearing a tree pushed over is something he's been dying to hear while squatching. I also have been dying to hear that in person. I've heard tons of audio. I've heard it happen in the woods, but I have not heard it while enough activity was going on for me to think that it was Sasquatch.
And see, to me, it's like, whatevs. Like, I heard that first time. Like, I have to realize how big a deal that is,
Yeah, you had a really good first run. Like, I'm really proud of you. And I'm proud of you for sticking it out and not being like, we need to leave. Because there's a lot of people that do that.
Yeah, nope.
We just, FYI, you guys, we are streaming to both Facebook and YouTube. Yep. So there may be comments that I talk about that you guys can't see. So just FYI, I want to let everybody know we're also streaming to, I believe, Bigfoot Society podcasts
boom
channel as well. So we're streaming to quite a few different channels right now. So if you don't see the comment I'm talking about, just know that you're here. It's just, Okay, so did you find that it helped you?
Yes, definitely. Oh yeah, big time. Now I'm thinking of things like I'm curious. Okay, what do you do to keep yourself occupied in the daytime in your campsite while you're waiting for the Squatch stuff to happen? Or what's the weirdest thing that you've done in your campsite to try to get Bigfoot to come and mess with you guys? Stuff like that I hadn't really thought of before. But like, when you're in that situation, you're like, I wonder how people like Jonathan Easley or Ron Man Reed, how they would do their thing in this situation. So
right, that's pretty awesome. Totally I'm glad that you got to go and do that. I found that researching also helps me ask better questions. Because I know that for a while there I was asking some pretty generic questions almost to kind of repeat, and then now I can ask more in-depth questions based off of what they talk about, as well as my own experiences.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. I'm really glad you got to go do that. And I, like I said before, I really hope that I can get you out in the woods with me and my people. Because every group has a different way that they do it, and also a different, well, Doc, you have 18 other people in the chat with you as well if you decide to stay.
Dude, your chats are lit, man.
They're normally not. I've never had the D word in my chat before tonight. So it's you, JB. You brought this with you.
I'm bringing them in.
You're bringing the trolls.
Yeah,
okay. Dude. So anyway, but every group has different vibes that they put out and different ways that they do stuff. Like some of them, like my group, we like to go out into the woods and hike during the day. We hike all over creation during the day, and then we make it back to camp, gather our firewood, and get ready for the night. And then we like to sit there by the fire all night until like 2 or 3 in the morning, and let them come to us, because we went out hiking all over and brought them back to us, is kind of how we think of it. And then especially like we'll sit there and chat and kind of be very cognizant of our surroundings. We'll watch over each other's shoulder for eye shine. We'll be listening for stick breaks, listening for whoops, all kinds of different stuff. And then when we go to bed, we lay there and listen for footsteps, listen for more activity, because they come in even closer after you go to bed. So we've been pretty successful with how we do it. So there's that. Okay, so switching from Bigfoot, let's go ahead and switch to your very own cryptid that you have there in Iowa.
Yeah, so Iowa has some weird stuff going on in it that I can talk about, but it has my favorite regional cryptid, which is the Van Meter visitor, right? So, I live just outside of I'm in central Iowa, just a little bit outside of it. And I'm close to the town of Van Meter, you could say, but it's got the Van Meter visitor is such a cool, it's a winged cryptid. Back in 1903, there was this cryptid that showed up, and it's like an 8-foot winged cryptid. It's got a horn on its head. It was, shining light off, and it was just messing with the town for a week straight. And it's the craziest story. I remember when I first learned about this, there you go, right there. That's from the festival. And the Creepy Acres guy had a puppet of it this year, which was amazing. It's such a fun time. And not a lot of people have heard about this cryptid, but I love it because it's the region, it's like rooting for your regional sports team, right? That no one else knows about, but you're all ride or die about it, right? And we have a super cool festival about it every year in the town of Van Meter. But to tell a little bit more about the cryptid story, so it's in late September 1903, and it all started this one night where it was very early in the morning, and one of the town elders, and I'm paraphrasing some of this story, saw this thing jumping around from building to building top in the town of Van Meter with a light shining. And he was like, that's weird. Fast forward to the next night, I believe, and the bank manager is in the bank. People are starting to freak out because they're like, someone's messing with the town. He sees, I believe this is a situation where they see the creature coming down the light pole upside down, kind of like a parrot would. And he shoots out the window trying to shoot at it. They can't touch it. Fast forward, there's a few other scenarios where people try to mess around with it. Eventually, they chase it out to a coal mine on the outskirts of Van Meter. And so the town posses up, right? And they try to get out to the mine where it's been seen with a smaller Van Meter visitor. So the town people, they're all there as a posse. They got their weapons of choice, and they try to take out the visitor but the visitor escapes in the mine, never to be seen again. And the Des Moines Register paper was, their quote about it was that there was enough firepower to sink the Spanish Armada. That's how crazy these guys were shooting at these cryptids. But the cryptids escaped, and now the town of Van Meter has a festival about it every year, which is really cool. And we have different people come in. I was able to talk this year. I actually did a presentation about 1970s Bigfoot. That I did a ton of research about it, about something called the Iowa Bigfoot Information Center, and tracked down what it was exactly. And that was kind of my first big investigative journalism piece. And it was a lot of fun. I have an episode on my podcast where you can actually listen to that presentation. I don't want to, we can talk about it here, but it's such a good story that it's fun to be able to listen to it and kind of like watch it unfold in front of you, and what I was able to find out. I got really deep into the story for about 3 months, and made some really cool connections, and found a lot about 1970s Iowa Bigfoot history that is not on the internet and not in any books. So it was super successful. Very cool.
That's really awesome. I'm really glad you got to do that, because, you know, you are very knowledgeable on the subject, and I know it means, like, it's a big deal to you. So, I mean, I just, like, I never knew very much about it. I knew that it was a winged cryptid, and I happen to be very fond of those. So, you know, just, to me, the more the merrier when it comes to winged cryptids.
Exactly.
I'm here for the Thunderbird. I'm here for the Van Meter Visitor, you know, Mothman, all of those. So I feel like humans, we don't really look up enough. So there's
also,
that.
The other cool thing I can add on to all that is at the end of the weekend, at like the final dinner where, you know, the speakers are hanging out and other people from the town are there that do the festival. I was invited to join the planning committee for the festival.
Really?
Which is really cool. So I agreed to that, and
that's awesome.
Now I get to help form the experience that celebrates the cryptid that I love, which is like the most amazing validation ever, to be honest.
No, that's
cool.
Amazing. That's a huge honor.
It really is. I was like blown away. I was like, are you kidding me? Like, you guys know what you're doing? This is amazing.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. I'm really proud of you, because you've come a long way from starting a podcast during COVID about Bigfoot to now chairing a committee, I guess, or at least be part of the planning committee.
Part of it, yep.
Yeah, you gave a presentation, you are a subject matter expert on it, and now you have, in addition to Bigfoot Society podcast, you have the Iowa files there. And so do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, let me clarify what that is. So so shout out to Jonathan Dodd. All the amazing artwork you've been seeing, of course, is made by our friend Jonathan Dodd, who's done a ton of stuff for Night Caller and really every amazing I mean, Small Town Monsters, anything that you've seen that looks amazing is probably Jonathan Dodd, if it has something to do with cryptids, right?
Yes.
So what I found, Lauren, is that, you know, while I was doing the podcast, I started, you know, looking into these things to do with Iowa and starting to research, you know, stuff besides the Iowa Bigfoot Information Center, and like started to go on things like my expedition with Tate. And I was like, this feels like I should be reporting on all this somehow. So what I ended up doing is I actually made like a second podcast called the Iowa Files, and it's one I have for the Patreon. So in the Patreon, I have a few episodes on this where it's like, you know, it has to specifically do with the Bigfoot expedition. It has, you know, you can follow along as I was figuring out more things to do with the Iowa Bigfoot Information Center. And I actually have copies of all my research in there as well, where you can read the articles from the 1970s that have to do with, the Bigfoot researchers at that time. It's very cool. It's just a thing for me to. It's the way I get to really nerd out about cryptids in Iowa, more so than probably people would be okay with in Bigfoot Society if I just started like slamming everything in there, you know?
Yeah.
Like this is the really deep Iowa cryptid stuff if you're into that. So
yeah, I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
And I think, again, it's not just for Iowa people, but I do understand, but I mean, even surrounding states, they can venture there and research. So it's not, it's not just for Iowans.
Totally. Yeah, totally. Iowans.
Okay, thank you.
Or Hawkeyes or Cyclones, depending on which sports team you're into. That's kind of too deep right there. So.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
You
right.
Iowans.
Yeah,
I know quite a few of you, and I love you all. Y'all are
we're too nice
people.
Yeah.
You are all very nice.
Yeah.
You're like the Canadians of America.
Iowa nice is pretty much our motto of the state, for sure.
That's amazing. I guess I never put that together, that all the Iowa people I know are actually, they're just really, really nice people. Some of them are very emotional, though, but very nice. They're Canadians.
Yeah, I agree with that, yeah.
The Canadians of Oklahoma, okay.
Yeah.
Hi, Richard. Thank you for being on here. You missed some great stuff, so you're going to have to go back and watch it. Okay. So you have Bigfoot Society podcast where you interview Bigfoot researchers, but also just cryptid researchers, if I'm...
So I'm starting to... Here's what it is right now. So the main thing I do with Bigfoot Society is, I interview people. Mm-hmm. And it's mainly cryptid focused. And yes, it's a ton of Bigfoot stuff. It's because there's more people to talk to. Mm-hmm. It seems like more people are into Bigfoot, so it just works out like that. Yeah. I am going to start to put in other topics that have to do with weird stuff. Like I'll do a little I'll say this. Imagine weird legends and stuff you've heard of that might not necessarily be cryptid related, but they're like about weird stuff happening in certain places of the world.
Okay.
I'm going to start talking to people about that, or maybe, people that research into, ancient civilizations and stuff. You might start to hear interviews about that as well. So it's not, I'm going to branch out a little bit. Also, the other thing that I've started to do, which has been super successful, even though multiple people have said you're going to get burned like crazy, not just Lauren, other people have too. I've started on Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday nights. I do a open phone lines thing on YouTube. Mm-hmm. So far, it's been really cool. I know it's coming. I know the trolls are coming. So I'm ready. It'll be a Clubhouse when people freak out on that. But that's a fun time too. You can if you have a story to share. I've had people already. We're only 4 episodes in, and I've had few people share their Bigfoot encounter story that have never shared it publicly.
That's amazing. You're giving them an outlet to share their story, which is what every podcast should be. Mine doesn't cater to everyday witnesses. It's more Bigfoot researchers who are witnesses in their own right, but I welcome witnesses as well. But your show and other shows like that, they give the witnesses a safe place to share their story. I wish you I told you, I wish you the best. I hope you get not one troll. It's just that when I used to do live shows on Night Callers, we had live call-ins, and I will never forget. I had 2 that stand out, and they were so good. JB, he was in a cabin with his girlfriend, and they heard something.
No way.
They heard something outside, and they kept hearing it, and so he went out onto the porch thinking it was a raccoon, and there was something huge and white and hairy jumped off the edge of the porch, and he saw the a glimpse of it go around the corner. So he followed it and he went around the house and he got back inside and Bigfoot was having relations with his girlfriend.
No way.
I could not get to the hang up button fast enough. And
he
I was
dragged
just
the
sitting
story
there.
out that long.
He
Holy
did. And the
mackerel.
other one, I think it was the same guy, but it was like 5 years later. He
man.
told a similar story of Boy Scout camp, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is so good! We're getting this live!" And then,
and just nuke the whole thing.
Oh yeah, totally.
Wow.
Like all of us were hanging on his every last word. It was so. I got burned not too long after that, or I had people that would call in and just kind of promote their own stuff and get very windy with it, and it was like it eventually got to the point to where we weren't getting enough substance to really have it be open. So
I get it. One cool thing in that I take as a super huge compliment is I've had 3 or 4 people, totally unrelated people so far, that have said that like it is it gives them the vibes of like old school Coast to Coast Art Bell type stuff. Not current Coast to Coast AM, but like old school back in the day.
Yeah.
Which is like that for, if you're into like paranormal podcasting, that is took that as a super compliment. So that was
of course. I'm really glad that you started doing that. It offers another layer to your show that other shows don't really have. So I'm really proud of you. And like I said, I wish you the best. I hope it works out. I hope it takes off so much that you just have live call-in shows. That would be wild, wouldn't it? You just take callers the entire time. That would be amazing.
It could happen though.
It could happen. So, okay, so I wanted to. I know. I wanted to ask. So your plans, you're taking it into a kind of a different direction. It's gonna be Weird Society podcast now. No, I'm just kidding. But.
No, I'm keeping the name because I'm in too deep. I can't rebrand.
Really? Yeah, same. Yeah, I have quite a bit invested. So I just do spin-offs of the same name. Right. I had another question. I'm blah. Do you have any future plans to get out and research either okay, here's my question.
Okay.
How does one research the Van Meter visitor in the field?
Whoa, that's a super good question, actually. A lot of it, I think, is it helps being so close proximity to the area, definitely. Mm-hmm. So I can drive over there and I can drive down the road by the field where it was last seen that the mine was in. That's now covered up, but in that I can drive down that area, right?
Is it really covered up?
No, it is. It totally is.
Is it?
It's underground. There's a brick and tile factory that's in that area. But there was an Expedition X episode where they actually tried to go digging for the mine. That's a whole other deal. You can watch that if you want to. But a big thing, Lauren, is it's getting connections to people in the town and hearing stories and becoming known for the guy that's into the weird stuff, so that people are comfortable enough to share their stories, because people are, Chad Lewis, who's the author of the book on the Van Meter visitor, you should totally get it if you're into that. He has people contact him to this day about I was driving in the area around Van Meter and this huge bat-like thing flew over my car, or I found I was walking my dog down the road and there's this huge dead winged creature there, but then when they came back it was gone. There's still, and this is just in the last few years, there's stuff that happens, so it's getting your name out there, going to festivals that are associated with the thing you're studying is very helpful. I even had a guy come up to me that shared his Bigfoot encounter story from the 90s in a town south of where I'm currently located, which was amazing. They were in a rock gravel pit and they were having all these huge rocks thrown at their heads, and pretty interesting story.
So, when was the last time the Van Meter visitor was seen? And if you already answered that, I'm sorry.
I think it's... So if we're saying we know it's the Van Meter visitor, like we know it is, it would be 1903.
Wow.
It was chased out to the mines, and then they tried to kill it. They couldn't kill it, and then it disappears. So there's a really funny theory that was brought up one year at the festival where some people are like, well, maybe it flew into the cave system and then went out to West Virginia and became what's known as the Mothman. And I'm like, well, okay, no, because like I'm not going to gatekeep what you think a cryptid is, but if you look at the description of the two cryptids, they're totally different.
They're totally different, yeah.
Like it's okay, they both have wings and whatever, but
they're not.
No, it makes for a good story though, but
it makes for a great story, especially if you subscribe to like kind of the Hellier theory where it's like where it's the Mammoth Cave system is interconnected all over the United States, and that's how cryptids go underground to different states. And then also, I believe there was the word portals was used at one point. So, Van Meter visitor goes in the Iowa portal and comes out over here in West Virginia portal or Kentucky portal. You know, then I just get in my head this picture of like Kentucky goblins and Mothman and Bigfoot and Van Meter visitor all down there like having a party in the cave system. But anyway, but if you subscribe to the Mammoth Cave system theory, it could be endless where they ended up, you know, like maybe they checked out Iowa and they're like, this place is really nice. I like it. Dudes. But yeah, there's only so much corn I can eat, so I'm gonna go over here where there's some deers.
So that's what I thought too. It's all corn and Field of Dreams. Once you get south of Des Moines, it's actually I don't know. Have you ever been in New England before? Like northern New England? Okay. There are very rolling hills. It's not all flat. There are rolling hills and woods, and some of the state forests in Iowa, I mean, they're almost as big as Salt Fork.
Okay.
I'm serious. Like
that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I feel like Iowa is like an untapped Bigfoot research mecca right now, and I should end this show so I can keep it to myself like Bigfoot researchers like to do. Okay.
Don't worry about it because Tate already put out the documentary about it, so secret's out.
Tate. You're fired, Tate. Fired. All right, hold on. I'm trying to make sure I don't have any other questions from the chat before we call it. What is the weirdest thing you've experienced on Bigfoot or something you've heard of? So, you're a Bigfoot podcaster. What's the weirdest thing you've heard of? Cryptid? I want to add cryptid related or not. It was my presentation on the Ishkatini, wasn't it? Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I almost forgot about that. Yeah, that was there's a lot of presentations that we won't talk about.
It was great. It was wonderful.
I can think of, I want to say it was, can't remember, it's terrible. The guy from I Know Squatch. This is way back, early Bigfoot Society, like probably early 2020 or late 2019.
Okay.
And I remember talking, I want to say him is Rick Rellis. He's a researcher. And he told me this story about how they were in this forest. I can't remember where it was. And they see, we're going to talk orbs. So it's an orb story, so get ready. So they see a blue orb in front of them in the trail, and they're all looking at it, and they're like, what is going on? And then they hear something, and they look behind them, and there's a Bigfoot with his hands up controlling the orb. And I was like, totally like Labyrinth, like David Bowie style.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm thinking, but not David Bowie style.
Yeah.
But that's the weirdest thing I've heard for, someone telling me a story. Like orb Yeah.
I actually had somebody on my show. They gave the same account, but it was multiple Bigfoots, but they were all standing
Really?
on a hill, like on a ridge across from the group, and they were all standing there also with orbs in their hands.
Dude, that's wild. That is
Yeah.
it was in Colorado.
I'm not sure. I
Okay.
want to say it was the Pacific Northwest, but it may have
Okay.
been because
Okay.
this person was kind of a he was homeless. He's a homeless veteran, and he kind of travels all over and
Dude,
lives
that's awesome.
primitively. He's a very nice man, and so he I had him on several times. In the very last show I had him on, that's the account he gave, and it just threw me because all of his other accounts were
Wow.
very flesh and blood, very scientific, they were an even keel, and then the very last one he's like, the Bigfoot were standing there, orbs, doing a rave, and I was like, what is happening? So but I've never heard that other than the account you just gave me, and that kind of now makes me feel bad.
Right? Yeah, that's probably the weirdest one that I've heard.
Mm-hmm.
There's just some, the thing that I like about what I try to do with Bigfoot Society is that, there's so many different, like, you can take sides with all this, right? Real easy. And I try to have people on where, it doesn't really matter. I talk to people that are like from the NAWAC, but I also talk to people that are like, I have an upcoming interview with Tobe Johnson from Owl Moon Lab, and that interview gets nuts.
Yeah, I have him on my list too.
Have you not talked to him yet?
I haven't talked to him about, like, obviously I haven't interviewed him. I don't pre-talk to my people usually. I get them scheduled by reviewing their research, and I've looked all through his stuff, and just from what I can see, it's a lot.
I absolutely read his book first.
Okay.
But that, oh man, I would love to hear the interview between you guys, because like the one we had, it got wild.
Yeah.
Like, just like, and then, like I have one, the interview with MK Davis releasing Friday. And that was just,
awesome.
A lot of people are like, oh, MK, blah, 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 whatever. But like, we had a really good discussion about film analysis and all. And like,
yes,
he has some interesting ideas,
Yeah, there's each person, whether they're good, bad, or evil, they have knowledge to impart. It's just whether they use their powers for good or evil. It's like that. I see people like MK, he has phenomenal film analysis knowledge and skills. Yeah. Like, I mean, this man, he literally is so talented. It's just that he hung his hat on tearing down the PG film, and and that kind of sucks because so many of us believe in that. But like I said, if we could use our powers for good, we could solve this freaking mystery if we could all band together instead of fighting with each other. And
100%.
I am friends with people here in Oklahoma that, man, like, they are so analytical, and their knowledge is on point, and they have this like 20 years of knowledge that they could put into this, and they've done experiments in their areas that are amazing, but they won't share that with anybody. They keep it right here, and they won't share it with anybody, and then they won't try any other methods because those won't work. And I'm like, guys, if we could just like band together, we could probably solve this and be done with it.
Oh yeah, like help each other. If you help the other guy win, you're gonna win yourself.
Yeah,
it's like, that's how
we'll
it works.
all win. Yeah,
Nice,
we'll all
Tate.
win. So
yeah, nice.
I agree, Tate. I'm the same. I'm a squatcher, not a fighter.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, MK, he's a font of information as well. Like, I love reading his analysis, and I view his stuff a lot. I'm pro PG film, even after reading his analysis, but I do enjoy his work. He's very knowledgeable. So, like, I could not do half of what he does. It's amazing. Tate had to bring it up. He had to bring it up. Tate, I will put you in timeout.
Yeah, and you can do that too on YouTube. So
yeah,
watch
your
yourself,
blood pressure, Tate, man, cannot handle this conversation. Oh, tater tot. Okay, so I'm glad that the interview could finally pop off here. We had a little bit of technical difficulty. I'm going to try to take the video down off YouTube, edit it, and put it back up so that it's a little bit easier for people to follow. And then I will take the audio for the podcast part of my show, and I'm going to clean this up. But thank you, everyone who stuck with us.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much for sticking with us. Sometimes this stuff happens. It's the year 2022. We don't even have hover cars yet. Live streaming is glitchy sometimes. Tate. Oh my gosh.
What a cool dude.
Okay, so if you guys have questions for JB that you did not get to ask, be sure to contact him at
BigfootSociety@gmail.com.
That's BigfootSociety@gmail.com.
You can go to BigfootSocietyPodcast.com,
yes.
And there's a contact form there too.
Yes.
So.
Also, his Patreon is on his website, as well as the Iowa files. So if you guys have questions you did not get to ask him, be sure to contact him through those places. And check out his merch, because it's pretty sweet. You can see, I'll one more time, I will put a picture of his favorite merch model up.
There you go.
Oh, hold on. I skipped it. My bad.
Yep.
There you go.
Nice.
So you guys, be sure to check out his merch. He has some awesome beanies. He's got shirts. He's got stickers. He's got all kinds of stuff. So you guys go check it out. I have worn the shirt, and I have a sticker, and I have gotten a lot of people that have talked to me about Bigfoot. It started a lot of conversations. So that's
okay. You too, because Mike Casey wears a pin, and when he does stuff, I'm not going to say, let's say his job, and he has people give him accounts all the time because they see the Bigfoot that Greg Morrill from Weird designed. And they're like, oh, I got a Bigfoot story, dude. So I'm not going to say that you're going to get Bigfoot stories, but you're going to get Bigfoot stories if you wear one of the shirts. So you're
going to get Bigfoot stories, or at least you're going to get Jeremiah some more listeners that will give him those Bigfoot stories. Totally. And then you get to listen to them. So win-win. Go buy his merch. I don't know why I'm firing pistols right now.
Is that Yosemite Sam? Hey, bing, 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 bing.
Oklahoma State. It's the Cowboys. I don't even like the sports ball. I have no idea why that just
That's
happened.
Yosemite Sam.
Okay, we'll go with that. I like that better anyway. All right, so thank you, JB, for coming on. JB, hang out afterwards for a minute if you have time, because I have to talk to you about something.
Ruh-roh. Okay, you got it. Thanks so much for having me on. You guys all rock.
Yes. Thank you guys for staying with us again. All right. You guys go to BigfootSocietyPodcast.com as soon as this podcast is over. All right. Hold on, JB. Okay. All right. So thank you guys for hanging on tonight. I know that it was a little rough in the beginning because that kind of stuff happens. I will edit the heck out of this episode so that it's a little bit easier to listen to if you guys want to go back and listen to the whole thing if you came in late. So I'm going to try to start doing a live stream. I will have a guest on every other Wednesday. On my off Wednesday, I'm going to try to do a live Q&A with just me and whoever wants to join in the chat, and we can have some cool discussions. So if you guys are into that, give me a thumbs up. Let me know. If you would rather just me not get on, that's fine too. You're not going to hurt my feelings. I will get on here and be windy all by myself. All right, so you guys be sure to go to BigfootSocietyPodcast.com, check out his merch, check out his Patreon's content. It is worth the money, let me tell you. JB, he works his podcast and his content like it's a full-time job. So he is producing a lot. So you guys go check it out. Also, while you're at it, if you don't mind going to nightcolorsproductions.com and checking out my merch as well, I have re-uploaded the logo, the full color logo. You can get stickers, shirts, hats, all of that. Also in, again, hunter's orange or safety orange for going out in the woods and being safe during hunting season, trying to find the hairy big guy. Okay. Now you can also check out my affiliates there. Weird Realities Podcast, Beaverhook Productions, and Bigfoot Crossroads and Bigfoot Club. So thank you guys for being here. Stay safe, be kind, and I will see y'all